welcome to the Science Faction Podcast, where science meets fact meets fiction.
This is Science Faction for the week of December 15th, 2024. I'm one of your hosts, Benjamin Daniel Lawless, and with me tonight is someone that's not in the same physical location as I am.
Devin Kraft.
What's up, Devin?
Hey, how's it going?
It has been an interesting last few weeks. I missed you last week, friend. How have you been? You've had a lot. I mean, how is the holiday psychosis treating you?
Holiday psychosis. I've been really busy with work because I'm taking a week off next week to go because we're all going to Oregon to hang out with my family. And so, excuse me, I'm tired. Oh man. So I'm the way my work works is I bill my time. And, when I was a normal associate with the firm, we have like minimum billing requirements per month and per year with different tiers and things. But I actually am not part of that system since I'm an independent contractor, but I still have to bill a certain amount. I tell them I'm going to bill a certain amount for the year, and that's what they expect.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
Taking a week off, I need to make up those hours, and it's over the year, so I can build it into other places in the year. But I've also taken other time off during this year, so it comes down to
December becomes the do or die time, huh?
Kind of. Well, yeah, and since I am not on salary, I don't have paid time off. So if I'm not working and I'm not billing, then I'm literally not getting paid. So taking a week off is not getting paid for a week. So to make up those hours that I would have to bill for that week, I have to bill them somewhere else. And so
Did you used to be salary?
What?
Did you used to be salary?
Oh, yeah. When I was, because my whole thing now is since I live out of state, I'm an independent contractor. So I technically have my own like law practice, and I have to like do my own taxes and, as if I was my own entity, which I am. So I have to do it that way. So yeah, if I get paid by, it's kind of it's one positive is it's kind of nice there to be a one-to-one relationship between how much you bill and how much you get paid. Like if I, literally as I'm billing, like that's the money I'm making, a percentage of it, because the firm that I work for, that's, I guess you'd say would be my client, but that's not how it really works out in practice. But, I like if I bill something, I know like, okay, I get a percentage of what I just billed, as opposed to just being numbers that go into the abyss and I just get paid the same check every 2 weeks like it used to be, which was also had its benefits, of course, because I don't have to keep track of my own taxes, and there's health benefits. Like I'd have to pay for my own health care. Like I said, I don't have paid time off. I don't have any of the other benefits that come with being a salaried employee, but there's other upsides to it. I live in a place where the cost of living is a lot lower, but I still make roughly the same amount of money I made before. So that's definitely, that's what makes it worth it, really. So
yeah, for sure. That's wild. Yeah. I think that, is there any like slowdown in the year where you would want to bill more, but you can't get that much work?
No.
Okay, good. You're not in the tech industry. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because there's a couple aspects to that. There's whether there's a slowdown for our firm in general or for this area of law in general. And then there's like my caseload. And if, my files, I have enough files to keep me busy. I do work for other attorneys in the firm, so they'll, give me certain assignments if they're too busy. And there's other routine things that come up that I even say my boss, which you could say like, well, if you're an independent contractor, you're your own boss. But, I still think of her as my boss. She's been my boss for the last 15 years. But she like there's certain things in our area of law where every case, there's without going into detail, but there are routine things that come up in a case. And so she kind of just says like, well, on my cases, when those things come up, you can do them.
Nice.
And so I can just on my own be like, okay, well, her case needs this thing to happen. So I'll just do it without, asking. Like there's a list of cases that have this particular event coming up. Things like that. So no, there's no slowdown. And then for the area of law, there's no slowdown because it's workers' comp. People are always getting injured at work. If the economy is good, people are working more, so more people are getting injured. If the economy is bad, people are making claims to try to get more money. So either way, people are making workers' comp claims. So
it's a win-win.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, man. Wow. That's awesome. As it's funny thinking. Well, I've definitely had a lot of anxiety around job security the last several years working in the tech sector. So like to hear that you don't really have that, or it doesn't seem like you have that. It's kind of nice. It's refreshing to hear about that. And perhaps one day I'll get back to that.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Now, here I am over on the salaried portion of it. We had an interesting. It has been an interesting year. I'll just say that. One of our interesting little perks that we had recently was that Snoop Dogg recorded our holiday welcome message for our like parent company. And it was really Snoop Dogg. It wasn't like some AI farce. It was legitimately Snoop Dogg. And there's like new swag that's coming out that is our logo, but instead of a lion, it's a dog. Like, and it's cool as hell. But because we're in this weird circumstance where everyone at my agency, we're all remote workers, they've instituted return to office policies for everybody else. There is no, like they're not sending out these hoodies that they're sending out with this new like dog logo out to homes. They're only sending them out to offices. So I get to take a little trip 2 hours away to our nearest office sometime when they come in and pick up my hoodie and any of the other hoodies of people that have gotten it, which not a big deal because Santa Barbara is a nice place to go visit for the day. So not a big deal, but
yeah.
Snoop Dogg. Wild.
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's become an interesting pop culture icon way beyond his rap beginnings.
Yeah, well, especially this year with him being part of the Olympics, right?
Oh, I didn't know about that.
He did a lot of commentary for the Olympics this year, and I think that's how my parent company got them, because they're a French company. So Olympics were in France. They did a lot of work in the marketing space.
You don't have to tell us if you don't want, but who is your parent company?
They're called Publicis Group. They're like one of the largest mega corporations in the marketing agency world. And so like they did a lot of marketing around the Olympics because it was in France. They're a French company, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it seemed pretty like a slam dunk when they got Snoop Dogg to record, to do like an hour shoot with the CEO of the company. It was cool. It was a really cool thing. It kind of reminded me a lot of how my company used to be before we were merged and acquired. There was one like beginning of the year party that we had where we went down to Hollywood, and like everybody in the company met up in a hotel in Hollywood, and we got like dinner provided, and then followed up by DMC performing for us, which was like
Run
opulence.
DMC?
DMC from Run DMC, yes.
Okay.
But not the whole crew,
Not the
just
whole crew.
DMC.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was amazing. Like top 10 experiences in the world of my career for sure.
Do you still do work for Apple sometimes? Is that
Can't talk about it.
Okay.
Nix it from
Can't
the
even
record.
talk about whether you.
Nix it from the record, friend.
That's fine.
Thank you. But yeah, so marketing agency. I think that kind of what I'm trying to illustrate here is like the difference between working for yourself or working at a small agency versus being merged and acquired and then no longer having budget for the cool, quirky stuff, So when we get Snoop Dogg recording a holiday message for us, it's pretty awesome. I'm not going to lie. But this isn't a show about Snoop Dogg or about the Olympics or about being your own boss and everything. This is a show about science and science fiction. Devon, what have you got for us for future or now?
I have This Week in Space, and this is an article from Science Daily from December 13th, 2024, about a gamma ray flare from a supermassive black hole. It says astrophysicists capture astonishing images of gamma ray flare from supermassive black hole M87. And
right
this,
on.
I'm sorry?
Right on.
Yeah. So this is the same black hole that there was the first ever photo of any black hole back in 2019. I'm not sure if you've seen the photo, but it's kind of just this orange circle with a little bit of extra light on one end, but it looks pretty cool considering it's literally the first photo of an actual black hole we have. I don't know if it's still the only one. I don't know if there's been more since then. But what's happening now with this is that there was a teraelectronvolt gamma ray flare, 7 orders of magnitude, which is tens of millions of times larger than the event horizon or surface of the black hole itself.
Whoa.
A flare of this intensity, which has not been observed in over a decade, can offer crucial insights into how particles such as electrons and positrons are accelerated in extreme environments near black holes. They talk about the jets that are coming out of the black hole. If you've ever seen pictures of black holes that are artist renderings, some of them have these huge jets that come out the North and South Pole, and those jets themselves are way bigger than the black hole and are of themselves hundreds or thousands of light years long, but they look pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
And those are caused, according to this article, I believe it's the magnetic field of the black hole is kind of pushing the particles to the poles and causing them to happen. So this flare lasted about 3 days and probably emerged from a region less than 3 light days in size, or a little under 15 billion miles. A gamma ray is a packet of electromagnetic energy, also known as a photon, which photons are electromagnetic energy. Gamma rays are the most energetic of any wavelength in the electromagnetic spectrum and are made by the hottest and most energetic environments in the universe. So these particular photons they detected coming from M87 had tetravolts of a few tetravolts of energy in each photon. So a tetravolt, or sorry, not a teraelectronvolt. I kind of just made up my own word to replace that one. Teraelectronvolt. I thought it was going to be a huge amount of energy, which it is in this context, but it's actually the energy equivalent of a mosquito in motion.
Oh.
So you hear it and you're like, oh man, it's going to be like, this is the energy of 10 nuclear bombs or something. It's like, no, it's the amount of energy of mosquito traveling. But
how incredible that we can detect that.
Well, no, but so here's the thing. It is a lot of energy because that's the amount of energy in each particle. So
Okay.
particles, which are a photon, is, of course, incredibly, incredibly small. So that much energy in a photon is actually a lot. Um, so the photons with several teraelectronvolts of energy are vastly more energetic than the photons that make up visible light.
Yeah.
They talk about how what happens in a black hole in general, how it has an accretion disk. That's the bright part around it. That's the material falling into the black hole, which is why when you hear like black hole should be black, and you see these bright black holes, or if you remember the image from Interstellar, which is actually a pretty accurate image, you've got the lights surrounding it and the light around the top and bottom of it. That's the material or the particles going into the black hole, which themselves release this energy, which is visible, at least in certain spectrums, to our telescopes, and are not yet at the event horizon, so can release something that's detectable by us because it doesn't fall into the black hole. I saw a video, I think it was by Veritasium, that did a good job of explaining why black holes look like that, like they do in Interstellar.
No, with the like accretion disk and everything, and
yeah. Well, why it's got the weird like lensing effect, because you're seeing, you've got the regular like ring around it. Like if you think of like Saturn, you've got the black. If Saturn was black and you've got a ring around it, but what we see in those pictures, like depicted in the movie, you have the ring that looks like it's going on the top and bottom as well. That's because the light from the ring on the other side is being warped around the black hole, so you can see the ring on the other side of the black hole as if it was on the top and bottom of the black hole.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Which I never really realized until I saw that video. I mean, it made perfect sense. But anyway, in case you are ever wondering why a black hole looks like that. So anyway, so they just talk about how the particles, there's the accretion disk, the jets. Let's see. And there's a comment, we still don't fully understand how particles are accelerated near the black hole or within the jet, said Wei Dong Jin, a postdoctoral researcher at UCLA and a corresponding author of a paper describing the findings published by an international team of authors in astronomy and astrophysics. These particles are so energetic, they're traveling near the speed of light, and we want to understand where and how they gain such energy. Our study presents the most comprehensive spectral data ever collected for this galaxy, along with modeling to shed light on these processes. They talk about the different telescopes that were involved. The spectrum describes how energy, or they talk about what a spectrum is, as probably already know. For further analysis by the paper's authors found a significant variation in the position and angle of the ring, also called the event horizon, and the jet position. This suggests a physical relationship between the particles and the event horizon at different size scales, influencing the jet's positions. Lastly, the same person, Jin, said, one of the most striking features of M87's black hole is a bipolar jet extending thousands of light years from the core. This study provided a unique opportunity to investigate the origin of the very high energy gamma ray emission during the flare, and to identify the location where the particles causing the flare are being accelerated. Our findings could help resolve a long-standing debate about the origins of cosmic rays detected on Earth. So
cool. That's it. Yeah. Just again, that idea that like, for how far away M87 is, and the fact that like we observed this over a 3-day period, and how far in the past that must have been, like how incredible.
Yeah.
So yeah, very, very, very cool. All right. Well, I hope we see more. It's so funny. Like, yeah, M87. I know that like, I remember the photo of the black hole back in 2019, but I feel like I've heard about M87 a lot more. And I'm curious now if there's a band named M87 that I'm remembering.
It does come up a lot. It does seem like
there. Okay, it was M83 is the French electronic music band formed in 1999. Okay. All right, but yeah, very cool. Messier 87, sweet. Well, more on this as it develops, I guess. Well, hey, I've got something a little bit more terrestrial This is a hat tip to my brother Tom. Thanks, Tom, for saying this article from New Zealand, from RNZ, about new technology that can help keep communications going during disasters. This was published on the 6th of November of 2024, 6th of December 2024 from RNZ. And this is about a mesh node, which is a small black walkie-talkie sized box that connects to a cell phone through Bluetooth and then connects to a network of solar-powered nodes across the region, allowing users to send short text messages even when all other communications are down. So this isn't going to replace like our day-to-day communications unless something really goes wrong. This is 100% like something that they found the need for in New Zealand because during Cyclone Gabrielle, power and cell phone communications, most of a good portion of Gisborne and Hawke's Bay were cut, but the solution is part of a new kit for disaster preparedness that the government in the region has. And so this basically it's been tailor-made by, now I'm going to butcher this, the Teraelectronvolt Civil Defense group. And the emergency manager, Ben Green, says that this is an exceptionally cost-effective solution for reliable communications in a disaster. After all, it's important to account for everyone in the region. And there's a lot, there's some isolated areas that exist in New Zealand. So the ability to send quick messages in any emergency situation that can piggyback on technology that they already have, also with zero input from Starlink or Vodafone or other internet communication people. It's just this standalone network, which is super cool. What they do is they take this mesh node and they strap it to the tree on top of a hilltop, and that kind of can still continue to work through a bunch of extreme weather events, essentially mostly extreme weather events is what they're going through. But if there's the ability to communicate, then that can really allow for a bunch of a bunch of help to reach where it needs to go. On top of that, they're working through, like I mentioned, as part of a much larger disaster response kit. The region, Teraelectronvolt's region, now has desalination units to turn seawater into drinking water, as well as a few other different things. So have no fear that perhaps we can have technology to solve these increasing weather disasters, and kind of get ready for it.
Yeah, that's cool. I was just reading through the article.
Yeah.
So you still, I was wondering, so the solar panel is to charge the transmitter. Like your phone still needs to have power.
Yeah.
So you'd have to make sure it's charged, and if you can't plug it into this solar panel to charge your phone. But I know there are solar panels you can get for your phone. I think we might even have one.
Yeah, I got big thanks to my brother for giving me one many years ago too, where it was just, here's a very kind of a small pack that allowed you to open it up. Here's a solar panel, and then anything that accepted, it had like a USB out. So it was like, here, we can slowly charge some devices using the power of the sun. If nothing else will do, that will get you. So yeah, cool. Hopefully we never have to worry about it, but it is always nice. It's one of those things where disaster preparedness, it only needs to save your bum once, and it has paid for itself. So, all right. Well, more on this as it develops. I think we're about ready to take our first and only break of the episode. When we come back, book club, but it's not what you think. So we will be right back.
If you like this and other things like this, that's great. Go to patreon.com/Science Faction Podcast and listen to more of this stuff.
And we're back.
Hello.
And a big thank you to our patrons. That's at least Renee and Josh. And if you've ever patroned us in the past, this is the time for giving thanks. Thank you. If you're interested in getting to interact with us a little bit more off pod, we've got a Discord that even if you're a free member, you can get access to. And we talk about all sorts of nonstop silly stuff there. Patreon.com/Science Faction Podcast. Now back to this show tonight. We have our book club, which next week we're going to finally, hopefully, with us, if we're all here, talk about a French animated short film that I watched called Where Rabbits Come From. And it's a film that's being shopped around for awards this season. Where rabbits come from? The answer will surprise you. But this week, we two hosts have been keeping up with Star Trek Lower Decks. The most recent episode that we're at is the 947th episode of Star Trek, which is called Fissure Quest. But yeah, Steve, I guess Devin, like, how much do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about like the season as a whole? Because this is the penultimate episode of the entire series.
Yeah. No, we can talk about the whole season and that episode in particular. What the finale is going to be like, I guess. What we think it's going to be like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this episode is one. Fissure Quest is the episode that I've been telling a few of my friends that maybe don't keep up as much or come over to the house to watch Lower Decks with us. It's like, hey, don't get spoiled on this before seeing it, because like if you can help it. So but hey, let's talk about spoilers. Let's give a full, like, hey, if you haven't seen this and you care at all about spoilers, maybe come back to our discussion after you watch it, because I don't know how we can talk about like where the season is going without really talking about this episode, where it's been, where it's going. So yeah, you've been fully warned from here on. Spoilers. Yeah. Devin, how like are you loving this season?
Yeah, I am. And it makes it. I mean, I've always liked this show, and this season being as good as it is makes it even sadder that this is the last season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've praised this show before, and it does still doing all the things it does great. My caveat I always give is that I think I give it a lot more leeway because it's an animated show. Mm-hmm. Like if any of this was happening in live action, I think I'd be like, okay, this is just ridiculous. What the heck? But
I don't know. I think this episode, if it were live action, would be an incredible. Like, it feels like it's a pilot for a new show.
I mean, yeah, that would be cool.
Right? So Fissure Quest, the basic idea about this is that this season we've been dealing with a bunch of multiverse spanning fissures that have been opening. They've been opening up these little holes in space-time that have allowed for our crew to go into alternate universes and vice versa. Usually it's other universes infringing upon our crew. And what we're dealing with here is that Boimler, kind of like the framing story, is that Boimler's wondering about, like, if his duplicate was still alive, what would he be doing? and it turns out he is still alive. That William Boimler, his death was faked, which more on that later. And he is now the captain of a ship called
Aximander?
the Anaximander.
Anaximander.
The Anaximander, that is a Defiant class ship that is going through a bunch of different quantum realities in order to try to solve this mystery. And so you kind of join the ship in quantum reality 582.76 sigma. And you've got on this crew, on this Defiant class ship, a who's who of deep cuts and amazing guest appearances. And it doesn't stop there. So again, this is the part that I think is spoilery. At the helm, we've got Curzon Dax, the prior host of the Dax symbiont from another universe in which Jadzia and Ezri never got the symbiont. You have T'Pol, who after 60 some years being married to Trip Tucker, she gets back into the saddle and joins this crew going about, and she's actually played again by Jolene, credited as just Jolene in this as opposed to her previous credit on Enterprise of Jolene Blaylock, because this was how she wanted to be credited, according to Michael
I didn't know that. But I see on IMDb it does say that. It says, well, it has her full name, Jolene Blaylock, and it says T'Pol voice, and then as Jolene.
Yeah. And then on top of that, you've got Chief Medical Officer Dr. Elam Garrick.
Yeah.
And Garrick's husband, and EMH, based off of Dr. Julian Bashir, voiced by Andy Robinson and Alexander Siddig. And wow.
Yeah.
that part was just like, oh my gosh, this is incredible shipping. Like, yeah, I know this isn't the Prime Universe version of this crew, but you're just like, well, I'm just happy that they exist and that they have the relationship that they do. And they then they transport the only survivor from a ship that got caught in one of the fissures, and it's Lieutenant Harry Kim, voiced, yeah. So like, it's actually Harry Kim, voiced by Garrett Wang, and turns out that the rest of the crew are all Harry Kims. Yeah. All of whom have never been promoted past ensign, except for this Lieutenant Harry Kim. Yeah. What was like, so
and they're trying, so that's the crew, and that's awesome. They're in, I think you already said, a Defiant class ship. And they're trying to solve the mystery of the season. Like, they're actively working on it, whereas during the rest of the season, this is just happening kind of in the background for our main characters. And we learn that whatever ship is causing this is causing two rifts when they open a rift, because to keep the balance of energy between realities. So they're able to track the ship, find the ship, and it ends up being another Earth ship from a different reality, where humans, rather than explore space, they're in the same universe, they explore different quantum realities. So that's their version of seeking out or to explore. So, and of course they're captained by
Sloan.
Yeah.
Yeah. From Star Trek First Contact. Yeah. Like, played by the actress who played her in that. It's this absolute, like, incredible who's who of 90s and thousands Trek in this episode. And it also seems to give, I feel like we've talked about this on the show probably a dozen times about how cool it would be to have a show where there's a ship exploring time or exploring the multiverse, and so to have this be like feel like a fully established episode of this other show is really neat.
Yeah. Well, I kind of like the meta aspect of it too, where Boimler, who's commanding that ship and is searching out this other one, he's tired of the multiverse and he's making fun of it, and he's really just like, oh, what is it going to be? A Neelix with a crew cut or whatever, or
a reverse Picard or a human Worf.
And it's just like this ridiculousness. And this is, true for a lot of things right now, how the multiverse has kind of been exploited as a way to do fan service. And now there's kind of a backlash against it. But it was kind of nice at the end of the episode how they're like, well, it's a way of exploring different versions of ourselves and learning about what humanity can do in different circumstances. And that it was kind of a nice way of giving some credence to the whole multiverse stuff, even though obviously it is exploited for fan service, which this episode is doing, but doing it in a fun way, and then acknowledging, that there are good aspects to doing multiverse stories. So there's kind of a clever way of kind of having your cake and eating it too, making fun of multiverses, but exploiting multiverses, and then having this positive, heartfelt way of wrapping it up at the end.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that it's not being played just for laughs. And I think that's where a lot of my I couldn't help but compare Star Trek Prodigy's second season to Lower Decks in general, with the ways that Prodigy, when they incorporated legacy characters, they did it with a heart and with it was always character first rather than just, oh, hey, remember this? Here it is. And this felt closer to the way the Prodigy did it than Lower Decks typically does. So
and it was. Yeah, and it was nice to have T'Pol back because of, the kind of, if you're a Trekker, knowing the backstory with her and how she didn't like playing T'Pol and what they did with the character. So having her come back and have kind of a redemption for her and the characters is nice.
Yeah.
So they can do those type of things with this that they wouldn't be able to do kind of normally. So, yeah, it was a really good episode, and then it leads into the next episode because the way they resolve the problem is, which there's more to the story about them getting captured and then the Harry Kim taking over the ship, and then all realities are going to get destroyed, but they have a way of focusing all that destructive energy into one reality. So it's like, well, rather than all realities being destroyed, we can just be one, kind of the needs of the many and needs of the few type thing. And then, to bring it back to the main characters of the show, Lower Decks, so well, we trust ourselves and we think we can handle it, so we'll send this to ourselves in that reality. And then that's how we're setting up the next episode. So the next episode being the last episode, they're going to deal with this. And did they know this was the last season when they wrote it, or?
I think that they knew
it could be.
They knew it could be. I think it definitely feels like the stakes are higher than ever, but that's how it's been every season finale. Well,
I'm just thinking resolving the issue, but then also having a farewell or something that because you kind of resolve the conflict of whatever this, the thing that's destroying the universe. And then you want to have and here's how the characters are, how the show ends. It doesn't have to be anything big. I mean, you don't have to have each character going off on their own journey. I mean, they could all just stay together on the Cerritos and be like, well, they just went off and had more adventures, and hopefully we'll get to hear about them someday.
Yeah.
But having some kind of moment like the end of Next Generation, all playing poker or something. But I guess kind of every episode of Lower Decks ends with them all together, having fun. So.
Yeah. I mean, so Lower Decks was... the cancellation was announced back in April of this year. So they had time to write and massage the portions of the show in order to make it a proper ending. I guess we will see how it goes next week. But there's I know that it's really fascinating. I don't know what is up with Paramount Plus. With Paramount in general. I do appreciate your I think I was too grief stricken when you were talking about like being across the street from the Paramount offices and wanting to go over there and when you were traveling a bit during the summer. But yeah, man, like I both am so frustrated and don't really care anymore.
Yeah.
As well as just like, yeah, why anybody keeps...
I mean, just how much of this show is an homage to all of Trek, how the characters themselves are fans of Star Trek. Like in this episode when she's like, is that T'Pol over there,
Yeah.
If they could have had 7 seasons, just the symbolism of that would have been nice.
Yeah, if you can't get a 26 episode season out of your writers, at least give us 7 seasons.
Yeah, because I mean, for people who don't know, Next Gen, Voyager, and Deep Space Nine all went 7 seasons.
Yeah, and
it's only 10 episode seasons. I mean, that would have been 70 episodes. That's nothing.
Right. Yeah, but again, like what that means is very different. It used to mean that like you needed 100 episodes in order to get to syndication.
Yeah.
That syndication doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah.
So like, now it's a matter of, what does this mean? Is there any sweet spot number of episodes that you're looking for? Is it important to end it when you're on a good note? Let the people want more, and who knows? I'm really excited. I know Tanya Newsom's been the actress who plays Mariner. She's not only on the writing staff for the upcoming Starfleet Academy show, but also she's working on a new show that is set theoretically on Risa, but like on some kind of it's a half-hour comedy that's set on a resort planet where the people who are working at the resort planet in the Star Trek universe realize that everything that they're doing is being televised across the quadrant on like a television show, which that's a wild and zany premise. I can't wait to see that. So, and I hope I do get to see it. Have you heard about that?
I've heard about it. Yeah, I don't know much more than what you just said about it, though.
So, hopefully we will continue to get funny Star Trek, in the near future. But it's funny that like it seems like it doesn't make any sense because it is far less expensive to produce an animated show than it is a live action Star Trek show. Like in terms of
movie
magic.
I doubt I'm gonna like that show. Again, like if it was animated, I'd have a lot more like suspension of disbelief or whatever, or just again a lot more leeway for it. But this kind of comedy in live action, in a universe that's not a comedy, like if it's just on its own, then fine, it could be funny. But it's just harder to say like, oh yeah, this is actually happening in Star Trek. Like I know Lower Decks is canon, but I mean, if you took the things they do in Lower Decks and put it in live action, you'd be like, no, that doesn't happen in the Star Trek universe. That's too silly.
Unless you're in the Delta Quadrant.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a filter. Like, fine, the overall events are canon, but the details are not necessarily what happened in Star Trek. Like,
yeah, I could not imagine someone like Dr. T'Ana getting, or even Dr. Miglimo, rising to the rank of chief medical officer and ship counselor, given how they go about, like, just given, how they go about their jobs. There.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. But yeah, it's funny. It is funny. That's how it is.
Yep.
Yeah, but are you at all excited about the upcoming Section 31 film? Yeah,
No.
Coming up in January.
No, I saw the preview for it. What were we watching on Paramount Plus? Maybe it was this. Maybe it was Lower Decks we were watching. And I think it just looks like the first season of Picard or Discovery, or just more, just kind of like over the top, not Star Trek. If I hear good things about it, I'll watch it, but I don't have any plans to watch it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be. I mean, of course, I'm gonna watch it because it's got Star Trek in the title, right? It's funny what. So something I have really enjoyed has been the novels that are written for Star Trek Discovery. They've been like almost every one of them have been a worthwhile read. And right now I'm about a quarter of the way through the novel Die Standing, which is about Emperor Georgiou, and kind of the connecting the tissue between when she basically between where we leave her off at the end of season 1 of Star Trek Discovery, at the Klingon homeworld, having been arrested, to where you meet up with her in the middle of season 2 of Star Trek Discovery, where she's now a part of Section 31. And it's like, how did you get from there to here? Well, there's a novel that kind of that fills in those details, and it's pretty excellent. I'm really enjoying it, and it's kind of reminding me how much, when written well, the character of Georgiou, of Emperor Georgiou, is really, like, is an interesting character. But I don't think that the last time we saw her in season 3 of Star Trek Discovery that she was a well-written character. I absolutely hate season 3 of Star Trek Discovery. I want to find something to love about that season because the premise is so cool. But they dropped the ball and made it an absolutely boring and inconsequential and worthless 10 episodes of television. Not quite as bad as season 2 of Star Trek Picard, but I am glad that season 4 was so good. Anyhow, all I'm saying is that reading this book, Die Standing, it's making me excited about the Section 31 show.
Good.
And so, it's fun. It's cool. We will see. I don't think that like the early, they had like an early trailer during the summer that it did not impress me at all. But somehow this new trailer, I'm like, oh well, this is a neat way to market this to me. Thank you. You know. So we'll see. It's got. I'm excited about some of the secondary cast. Like I really like. There's okay. Now I've got to look on IMDb, but there's one of the actors from it played a really great part in Ted Lasso. Was it Sam Richardson? He's great, and it's funny. Maybe I may have got the wrong wrong guy, but no, yeah. Yes, it was Sam Richardson. He's in it, and he's playing a character that's kind of the same race from as the shapeshifter from Star Trek 6.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And
we've never had that character come back, have we?
Maybe
like that
once
race because we've had plenty of shapeshifters, but
maybe once in Lower Decks. I
okay.
seem to remember a time in Lower Decks there was like an off joke about that race.
There's a character in the movie I'm on IMDb right now. Nicole Dixon plays Zindi. Is there going to be Zindi in the movie?
Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting name.
Or is that just a name that happens to sound like?
Man, I do not know. But
apparently she's played a bunch of different characters on Star Trek because her IMDb photos are just like a bunch of different aliens she's played.
Oh wow. Okay, so yeah, maybe she's just playing a Zindi in the film.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, she's a stunt performer. Okay, that's what it is. That's cool. Rad. Yeah, like things that do excite me about this is that so it's set in the Lost era, quote unquote. That's the era between the original series movies and the beginning of The Next Generation. So about the only like tie to any of that we see is that one of the characters is a younger version of Rachel Garrett, who goes on to become the captain of the Enterprise C, from an incredible episode of The Next Generation, where the Enterprise C shows up, Yesterday's Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
So to like see that character again and hopefully get a little bit of depth there, that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
But you know, like those are like that, and that the fact that Michelle Yeoh is wonderful are the things that I'm excited about for this. Almost everything else, like I don't think that Discovery did Section 31 justice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it started off kind of interesting, but like as they took off the mystery layers, it was like, that's too bad.
Yeah.
You know, but we'll see. It's more Star Trek. I'll watch it. And it will be PG-13. So
okay.
Good times. All right. Well, I think that's an entire episode of this show.
We're done.
Thank you for being here and for taking some time to So I don't think we said this like on the official pod. Steven's sick. He'll be back eventually, but you know his family got sick and then he got it. And near as I can tell, and last I heard, he had a pretty gnarly fever. So we sent a text to him seeing if he was available, and we got nothing back. So we'll hear from him later, I hope. And I don't know. Yeah, Devin, any last words for us?
Nope.
All right. Well, I'd like to remind everybody that in this cold time, that if you slide on your driveway and you get hurt, it's your own asphalt. Good night, everybody.
This has been the Science Faction Podcast. Tweet to the host at SciFact Podcast. Email them at sciencefactionpodcast@gmail.com and visit sciencefactionpodcast.com for more episodes.